It's like the best video ever.
This is great.
We got 25 minutes. We gotta go.
Happy Wednesday.
Happy Hump Day.
With the camel.
It's coming, people. It's coming.
How is everybody doing today? We are so excited to be with you on another Wednesday. Thank you for joining us live. For those of you with us live, happy Hump Day with Jeannie. For those of you that are catching us on the replay, thank you for watching the recording. We're super excited to have you. And thank you to all of our community members on Patreon for joining us. We're excited to have you with us today, too.
Absolutely, absolutely. Guys, today is going to be an absolute blessing of an episode. I've already had an opportunity to see the question, and it had me scratching my head because it had me convicted. So I definitely want to jump into today. And we have a special guest with you guys. So, Janelle, what's that drum roll, please? Boom.
Today's question is, did you go into business to say you don't have a boss or to provide a service?
Ooh.
Yep, I feel the conviction. That's for sure. Well, we are not going to be the only ones talking about this. We have an amazing special guest with us this afternoon or evening if you're in Europe, or morning if you're on the West Coast. This young woman is really just a powerhouse. She is one of the most focused, goal-driven, go-getter women that I know, bosspreneur, womanpreneur out there. She's helping people with planning their future for their children's children, right? And even for just planning their current livelihood and what they're going to do for their investments for their own current future.
Okay.
So she is definitely doing a lot of stuff in estate planning, but has also been an amazing success partner for other people who are entrepreneurs who are looking to get their business to the next level. And so I am super excited to introduce you all to Lilli Nkenchor.
How are you?
We are fantastic.
Oh, thank you. I love, what's that?
25 minutes on the clock to answer the question.
Oh gosh. But can I say really quickly, I love that you introduced me as a success partner. I'm like, that's such a beautiful compliment. To say not only are you just accomplished, people can be individually accomplished, but are you pouring into the lives of others?
Amen.
Say that. Makes me feel like, I'm doing something for other people too. Makes me feel warm and fuzzy.
Say that.
Hi, Jeannie.
Well, we are feeling super warm and fuzzy having you here. We're really excited that you're here to just share your wisdom with us, your knowledge. And we can just start off, if you could just tell us a little bit about how you ended up where you are now. How did you decide that estate planning, for example, is where you wanted to go in terms of your own practice within the field of law? But then even further, how you then turn that into a realization like, wow, I can really help people with their businesses as well.
Got it. Thank you. So I went to law school. Did I go to law school with some big, lofty goals of I'm going to save the world? No. I went to law school because I thought, maybe I'd be good at it, right? So I'm going through law school and I'm taking all of the obligatory courses and nothing is really speaking to me. I'm just doing it so that I can get through the program until I get to tax law and estate planning. And that's the first and last time I had ever felt moved in law school, because to me, estate planning is very empowering. What I took away from that course was, with the right legal language, with the right paperwork, you can make things easier for yourself, for your family, and multiple generations if you want to. And I just thought, this is just paperwork? Why isn't everyone doing this? Why isn't everyone else feeling empowered to take this level of control? And I just caught the bug. And I was very fortunate that right out of law school, I was able to work in the estate planning field. So my entire 14 years has been dedicated to estate and business planning. And throughout the process, I've worked with people from Seattle all the way down to South Beach. I've learned that there are a lot of things that keep us disconnected, unfortunately, but there's a lot more that keeps us connected I haven't run into someone who says, I don't care about my family. I don't care about my friends. I don't care about my assets. I don't care about my business. People have things they care about. So the common denominator is you, just like the person sitting next to you on the subway or the plane or in your office, have something you love. And I want you to understand that you have the power to control or dictate what happens to that thing when you're not here, or that person when you're not here. So that's why I love estate planning, because I'm just thinking you can do a lot with some good paperwork, some good documents.
Say that. And so then tell us a little bit about how then that also turned into a realization of how you can help people with their businesses also.
Oh my gosh, it was a slow burn, Janelle. It really was. I was working in a corporate setting, and my job really was to work with high net worth individuals. And we were defining high net worth as people who had assets of 10 million and above. Okay. Some of them were wealthy because they were executives at Fortune 100, 500 companies. And some of them were wealthy because they owned a business. At the end of the day, they were wealthy. So the conversations they were having weren't your kitchen table conversations. The planning for them wasn't kitchen table planning. And I would say, this is great. I'm being exposed to millionaires and learning about money and how to do estate planning for these types of people. But eventually there was this little birdie that was thinking, oh, we should bring this information to everyone else. And I said, yeah, we should. And I was looking around for, someone to volunteer.
Right.
And do the work. I was like, yeah, you're right. Somebody should bring this to everyone else. Everybody should know this applies to them. And the voice kept getting louder and louder and louder until I realized, oh, I'm the someone. This is my job. I thought someone else was going to do this and I could stay in my comfortable, cushy corporate job. And once I realized it probably was going to be me, that's when the seeds started for me to step out and build my own business. It was a slow burn to what I eventually have created now.
That's awesome. And I'm sure many people out there can relate to that story, right? Because that is how a lot of businesses start. It's like you recognize a need, right? Something that other people can gain value from. Right. And then you're like, but I can actually serve that, right?
I got skills. I know how to do things.
That's exactly right. So this is a great place to then start talking about the answer to today's question. So did you get into business to say that you don't have a boss or to provide a service, right? So yes. I can totally relate to this. Like I know that the idea of firing my boss is like really romanticized in my mind. Like I can't wait to be like, right? Like just kind of that just I think is for many people like just this, they're just desiring a sense of freedom. Yes. And so they think that being your own boss will be awesome. But what I found is that sometimes what you end up being is like the boss that you always wanted, which is like do whatevs.
But then, like, every day PTO day. Exactly.
So like let's leap into this. Tell us what your thoughts about this going into business to say you don't have a boss or to provide a service.
Yeah, because of the slow burn and why the idea or where the idea came from, my initial reaction was I'm doing this for a service. I wasn't one of those people who said I never wanted to run my own business. There was nothing. I know right now the zeitgeist is entrepreneurship and building wealth and you can do it, ditch your boss. When I was in the middle of my career, and I still am, that energy wasn't out there. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I only saw business owners who like had some really amazing product to sell, or they were brought into the business through family. Those were my concepts of being business owners. And neither of those scenarios applied to me. So I never felt like I was or should be a business owner. I was trained to get a good degree from a good school, get a good job, and climb the ladder. Don't do anything to lose that job. And that is the definition of success. So entrepreneurship for me started backwards, where it was service first. Then the added benefit was you get to do it on your own terms. Mm-hmm. But it should be service first, because if you don't serve people or you serve them poorly and the word gets out that you serve poorly and you're not marketing yourself and you're not managing your money, you might as well just stay right where you are. Get your bi-weekly paycheck or your monthly paycheck, however you're paid, and don't get into something that you're not fully prepared to serve. I feel like everything you should do from an entrepreneurial perspective is service. If you build it, they will come. But if you're literally thinking, I hate my manager, so I'm quitting, but I'm not being of service to anyone and I'm not adding value, you might find yourself, back on Indeed.com looking for a new manager.
Man. Well, I'm good. Thank you for that, Paul.
Yes.
So why I love this, and I'll tack into what you just said, Lillie, is when I saw the question, I thought something very similar. I thought, yeah, there is this attitude of I'm sick of this person that's over me telling me what to do, or you may be in a position where you feel you should be the one in charge, and that person shouldn't. And I think that emboldens us to think, oh, I could go off and start my own thing.
Yeah.
But I love what you touched on, which is we'll start with service first, or start with, why first, right? And then you can find your way into it. But what I've also think is interesting is, what do you think about the culture, or maybe not necessarily a culture now as much, but where companies are letting people go. So it's not necessarily that they are deciding to step away from what it is, right? So I have a friend, and there are people who are being furloughed from her job constantly, actually, more recently. So I would wonder, how does this, and the thing that I thought about when you describe what you do is the word legacy, us leaving a legacy. And as an employee, I don't know if there's as much power there to step into that, to leaving something for your children and all that, as opposed to obviously, stepping out and starting something, whether you have service on your mind or not. There is obviously still more power you have when you go off and start your own business, or maybe you join into something else that's already established.
Got it. So I had heard a couple of questions there. So firstly, it's okay. Firstly, for those persons who have to go into for those people who are losing their jobs, just because you've lost your job or your hours have been cut doesn't mean the next thing to do is to create a business. Creating a business out of desperation, I don't know how successful that's going to be. So let's say I'm furloughed, or I'm just flat out fired from my job. My next inclination might be, how can I find another job to replace the income? I still need to take care of myself. I still need to take care of my family. I don't think the answer to being let go is automatically go start your own business. What are you starting? What are you providing? Why? I feel like that's a thought process that needs to be going on in the back of your mind for some time before you're able to create your own business. Because if I'm fired on Friday, I'm not going to have a business by the next Friday, or even 2 Fridays or 20 Fridays from then. So if you are not ready to serve, if you don't believe that you have a gift that can be useful to other people, I would say find a steady job. And I don't know why we talk about like corporate jobs like they're the devil. Sometimes they're not great situations, but some people have really good corporate jobs where they're valued, they've gotten their raises, they're working on interesting projects. That was me in corporate America. Lillie did not leave corporate America because I was sick of it. I left because I was called. And there's the difference. So I say that to say, if you lose your job, instinctively don't think, I'm going to go sell something on Instagram. Think, how can I replace this income? Manage that emergency, because that's an emergency situation, Winston. You lose your job, you don't have savings, or even if you have savings for a couple of months, that's emergency. I don't know if it's smart to build a new business under emergency circumstances. I say fix the emergency, fix the leaky roof, fix the sinking foundation, whatever it is, get yourself situated. And if that experience inspired you to become a business owner, then start putting the seeds in the soil until you get to the point where you actually willingly start your business, not haphazardly start your business, right? And then you also mentioned something about legacy planning. And it's funny you said that, because I was furiously putting together an Instagram story where I'm trying to disabuse us of this idea that legacy planning is just for the wealthy, just for the married, just for the people who have children. Real planning, legacy planning, business planning. I always tell people, if you have people you care about or you have assets you care about, then you're part of this family. You should be engaging in some form of planning. Even if you say, I'm not married, I don't have kids, I don't have a house, it still applies to you. Why? Because you probably have a parent or a godparent or a grandparent who you're probably going to have to take care of in some form or fashion in the future. Get their plan together so that you're able to help them. Power of attorneys, healthcare proxies, all of that stuff. So I don't want us to feel like legacy planning is just like for the people out there who have houses in the Hamptons, or the people who have 3 kids, 5 kids, 10 kids. It's for you too.
That's good.
Yeah, sorry. So I think that's really, really interesting because you're right. I think some people think that that's outside of their like that's not for me. You know what I mean? Like that's somebody else, right? Like not me. And it's really important to understand, like, no, this is you too. Like this is all of us. This is all of us. We all need this.
Right.
So one of the other questions I heard Winston say was I guess so. Okay, so you answered the question about like what happens if you like lose your job, right? And then this other idea of self-empowerment or the ability to like to have more say so, which is I think what the kind of the idea of like not having your own boss. So there are some people who have like a certain amount of savings together and they've been thinking about it, right? Like, I have this idea, like this is this thing that I think I could actually make this work. And then they're like, you know what? Screw this. Like, let's do this. Right. And now there's this
here, we're ready. Okay.
Right, exactly. And so I think that I think there's a switch in there where they're just kind of like, I want to take more self-agency over like what I'm doing. And so like if you could speak to that, just like even in your own experience as you've been building your business, like what was that switch like? Like what was that like, you know what, I'm gonna the empowerment to be like, actually me, I can do this. Like, right? Like what was that like?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And I love that Winston brought that up. The appeal of being an entrepreneur is the autonomy, right? I don't have a boss. I can come in when I want. I can leave when I want. But then after you feel that good feeling, the next question should be autonomy to what end? Like now you're autonomous. Now you're independent. What are you going to do with this autonomy? What are you going to do with this independence? Again, back to service. Are you doing something or helping someone do something that's, of service to others? So autonomy to what end? So for me, when I finally got the courage to do it, it's because I believed I could do it. Before belief, there's like an intellectual knowing. Like technically, I can do this because I've been an attorney for 14 years. But not until 2020 did I really believe I could do it and do it well to the point where I would make money and I'm not eating cat food and all of that, right? So there was a point when I was basically working both my corporate job and my law firm. And I got to a point where I realized I couldn't do both, or I couldn't do both well. Let's be honest, sometimes people are juggling many things and they're just like, it's barely being kept afloat. And they're like, oh, I'm a busybody. You're like, you're not doing a great job. So you might not want to be tooting your own horn just yet. So I got to a point where I said, they're both not doing that great right now because my attention is split. So to answer your question about when I felt confident and comfortable enough to do it was when I believed I could do it. I had a certain number of clients coming in. I had a certain amount of dollars saved up. Everyone around me was speaking positively and encouraging me to do it. And I had a conversation with God, and everyone has their own different spiritual beliefs. But me, I had a conversation with God, and I said, if this is what I'm supposed to do, show me some signs that this is what I'm supposed to do. And I got those signs in one variation or another. And I said, all right, here we go. We're gonna go. And here's the other thing that I knew, Janelle. I wouldn't regret it if it didn't work out. That's how I knew I was ready. Because if you imagine it failing and it's like a catastrophe for you, you would feel embarrassed. You would start hiding in your cave. You wouldn't be able to live with yourself anymore. Then maybe you're not ready yet.
Wow.
But if you're comfortable with the idea of failing and not feeling like a failure, you might be ready.
Oh, that is one of the most powerful things anyone has ever said on this show.
I mean, really. I'm like,
that is so big. Wow, that is so big.
Thank you. Well, yeah, that's how I experienced it. I hope someone can get something from that.
I did.
Yeah, drop like fire emojis.
I absolutely
like,
did.
Me too. Like, hashtag say that. Like, if you're listening to that and that moved you in the way that it moved me and Winston, yeah, like let us know in the comments.
I mean, how many things could that honestly apply to, though? My goodness. I mean, relationships as a whole. You know what I mean? It's one of those things where does God? That was good. Where does that? I mean, and say, where does that come from? That might just be a question of just life and the experiences you've had. But how did you know that? How were you certain of that? Is it I can go back to my job? What was that kind of? Because to your point, failure. What would or actually maybe here's the question about what would failing at what you were starting look like? Maybe that's what I should.
That's a great question too. For me, failing would be. That's a great question. Failing for me, Winston, would have been not living up to my potential.
Okay.
Failing for me would have been like you weren't consistent, you didn't show up, you gave your clients the bare minimum. You didn't have a passion behind what you were doing. You were just out here collecting checks. Which sometimes you might feel that in your career if you've been there for a long time. But for a new entrepreneur, I feel like you should be on fire. Every morning you wake up and you're thinking, what do I get to do today? Not what do I have to do today, right? So for me, failing would have been, I'm starting a business. And then 6 months later, I don't care about it. I've lost interest. I don't call my clients back. I don't market myself. I don't improve myself. That to me would have been the definition of failure. So I got to a point where I felt like if I fail, but I'm comfortable with it, because you can fail in many different ways, right? If you fail, but you understand you're not a failure and you're comfortable with kind of taking that L, then that's how that's how I knew that I was ready. Because you made it the point earlier, Janelle. I am driven. I am focused. I'm particular. I care about what I do. I care about the people in my life. So I probably wasn't going to fall into that doomsday scenario that I just described, Winston. But I imagined it and said, you know what? If I failed, I'll still be proud of myself for trying. And to your point, Winston, I could probably find another job, right? And because I knew that I had that safety net of sorts, I was comfortable jumping out there and failing forward, as they say, and seeing what would come of it. What would come of the effort? You have to put effort in something.
I completely agree. There's a way that you're looking at this, and literally, you're opening up so much for me. About one, the mindset I think we have around this idea of failing. I like that none of the things you said were tangible, but they were tangible because you controlled all of them, right? You controlled the effort you put forward. You controlled you showing up. You controlled everything was something that you knew. This is within my control. It's not my customers aren't blah, blah, blah. It was none of those things. So I love that. But then the second thing you just touched on was this idea of if, let's say, the financial part doesn't line up the way I need it to for my lifestyle, I could always go back and get another job, or even if it wasn't even in the same company, whatever field, whatever. I can go out and earn money. I'll just say it that way. And I can go after this again. And I want to say that because I think of just I mean, we read about so many successful people, the Elon Musk, and I'm naming some of the, big ones. But that's the thing that they really do well. It's like when something doesn't work, like they don't think of it as a failure. You know what I mean? They do think, oh, I'll just go do something else.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, Steve Jobs, it's like, oh, they took my company. And I'm sure the dude was distraught, but then it's like, I'm gonna go start another company. I'm gonna go do something else for a living. You know what I mean? It's like, whereas we think of, if I go open this business, this store, and no one comes, enough people doesn't come to buy, and I gotta shut down, then it's like I'm done for.
Yeah.
You know? Yes. And I love where you just went with it. I know we're running out of a lot of time, but and I know Janelle has another question, but can you? Your mindset around this is just so powerful to me. Where does that come from? And I know that may just be like I said, it may be just your life experience, how you were raised, but where does that come from for you? Seeing it that way, you know?
Gosh, you know what? It comes honestly, Winston, from my experiences in corporate America, because a lot of times, to your point, people think wealthy people, like it just happened. I will tell you this: wealthy people work hard, yes, but wealthy people have access. Wealthy people have resources, or successful people have access. Successful people have resources. And one thing I learned working in corporate America is my clients failed privately, failed publicly, and managed to make it work. Some of them don't even have a high school degree and are making money hand over fist, like the money's just falling out of their pockets, right? And I'm looking at these persons and I'm realizing that there is nothing super unique about them except for consistency, the ability to work smart, and the ability to try again. Once you realize that that's one of the common denominators amongst all of the successful people around you, you realize that those three things are attainable. And so my mindset came from seeing over, 14 years of people looking at them like, you did what? Oh, yeah. I know you barely can count to 10, so I don't know how you're successful. If this person can, I can as well. Or running into really successful, really smart people who would pour into me and encourage me because they saw something that I didn't see in myself. So those two experiences made me realize I can do it. Anybody can do it. Let's do it.
Say that.
So speaking of let's do it, two things. One, tell me about the shirt that you're wearing.
Oh, shout out to Cedric. Cedric owns a clothing brand called Keep Going Studios.
Keep going.
Based out of Dallas. I love his stuff. He has hoodies. He has hats. He has socks. He has all sorts of merch that's more have like a streetwear vibe to it. Very comfortable, very stylish. So reach out to Keep Going Studios and support Cedric.
All right, Seti. Hopefully we'll get you on the show as well.
Say that. And Janelle, before you ask your question, I know Lillie, because we're out of time. Where can our audience find you? Because I know you have your
Oh yeah, come over to the website LilliNkenchor.com. LILLIE N as in Nancy KENCHOR.com. Perfect. And then you can also find me on Instagram, Lilli_Nkenchor_PC. And I think it's just Lilli Nkenchor PC on Facebook. So I'd love to have a conversation with you about what your planning goals are. And if you take anything from this conversation is 1, you can do it. 2, do it with love, do it in service of others. And 3, understand that will planning, legacy planning, all of that, it applies to everyone. It's not just for the wealthy. It's not just for the people who have 3.5 kids and a dog and a picket fence. It's for anyone who cares about the people in their life and the assets that they've accumulated.
And people, she knows what she's talking about when she's sitting in a bar with a velour suit. I'm just
get at it.
I'm just saying. You gotta know what you're talking about when you're sitting in a bar with a velour suit.
So, okay. So my question, and I know we're running out of time, so we're gonna go into overtime with this.
Okay.
But my question is, so we understand your mindset around failure and like how we keep going, right? Like I love this. And so my like other thought is like, okay, so then what are the things that do make the business successful? Like how do we like get it going? That's what I really want to like get
Yes.
your like mindset on. Like because like
Yes.
see, you said something, you said to what end? And I was like, that part. Like how long are we doing this for?
Yeah. I know it sounds cliche, but cliches are cliches because they're true. But people don't believe it because they think, no, it has to be something more than that, right?
More, yeah.
So the first thing is know your
Whoa,
why.
no. You can't give it to them, Lillie.
No,
nah. You guys got to get on Patreon to get the rest of this. You see, she was about to go in. You can tell she's about to go in. But you can't get it for free, people. So Janelle, there we go. Janelle's going to drop that link. If you are not already a subscriber to our Patreon, please click that link. We are going to be, I think we're going live there as well.
We are.
Awesome. But thank you guys for being on. Thank you to everybody that was on live with us, guys. Thank you. Drop some fire in that chat for Lillie. She came on. Seriously.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much.
Awesome.
And we will see you guys in a couple minutes live on Patreon. But for now, as always, remember, you deserve the good life. Say that. All right, guys. See you guys in a